President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has stressed the need for collective action and cooperation among African nations to effectively combat terrorism, cybercrime, transnational crime, and other forms of insecurity on the continent. He implored the continent's defense chiefs to come up with a fresh doctrine of continental defense built on trust, shared intelligence, and coordinated strategy. Our correspondent in Abuchi, Oke Inabuchi, sent in this report.
The Nigerian leader, who stated this on Monday when he declared open the maiden edition of the African Chief of Defense Staff Summit 2025 in Abuja, said there must be a framework for African defense institutions to speak with one voice and act with one purpose. Tinubu, who was represented at the summit by his deputy, Vice President Kashim Shettima, said the extreme scale of threat across Africa has made it a must for nations to pause and reflect. The president drew the attention of the defense chiefs to a stark reality about Africa, saying the continent is bound as a family, interwoven not just by borders but destiny. Tinubu noted that the geographical configuration of the continent has made its nation more than kith and kin.
Nigeria's promise has always been simple and firm: to be a good neighbor and a brother's keeper in the struggle for peace. Our armed forces have stood shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors and far beyond in peacekeeping missions, counter-terrorism operations, and humanitarian endeavors. We hold no illusion. Security is the foundation upon which the edifice of progress must stand. That is why we must use this summit not merely as a meeting, but as a covenant to deepen cooperation through joint training, harmonized doctrines, and interoperable systems. For this to endure, we must build a framework where our defense institutions speak with one voice and act with one purpose.
Tinubu also called for establishment of a permanent African Chief of Defense Staff Forum, a platform he said would avail the military chiefs the opportunity to keep dialoguing, strategizing, and coordinating their operations. Earlier in his remarks, Minister of Defense Alhaji Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, who was represented by Minister of State for Defense Alhaji Bello Matawale, said the summit hosted by Nigeria was historic and a bold statement of collective commitment of African nations towards ensuring a safer continent.
Today, we take an important step forward. We affirm that Africa's security must be driven by African solutions, African leadership, and African unity. Nigeria has always played a leading role in promoting regional peace and stability. Our armed forces have been actively involved in peacekeeping, counter-terrorism, and humanitarian missions across Africa and beyond. We remain committed to strengthening our defense partnership, both bilateral and multilateral, to support peace, development, and democratic values.
Earlier, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and Chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group, Amina Mohammed, noted that the gathering marked the birth of a new era in African security cooperation, necessitating a united approach to tackle emerging threats, just as the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, charged fellow Chiefs of Defense Staff and heads of the armed forces of allied countries to lead the charge in organizing forces and investing in cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and indigenous military technology, explaining that without the aforementioned, it would be difficult to achieve security.
Elections are manipulated, institutions undermined, lies are spread until neighbor turns against neighbor. And we have seen this before. Once it was a radio carrying messages that ignited genocide. Today it is social media amplifying hate at terrifying speed. Artificial intelligence is already transforming the landscape of security. Today we do have AI tools that are helping countries suffering from conflict and insecurity, identifying food insecurity, predicting displacement caused by climate shocks, even detecting and clearing landmines. Soon they could help us to spot patterns of unrest before violence erupts.
The choice of the theme of this summit, combating contemporary threats to regional peace and security in Africa, the role of defense collaboration, is both timely and pertinent. It captures the urgent need for a united action in addressing the complex and evolving security challenges confronting our continent. Consequently, this gathering offers us a rare opportunity to forge a unified front. It is a platform to harmonize our doctrines, strengthen interoperability, and build enduring trust among our defense institutions. We must therefore seize this opportunity to craft a new architecture of African-led security cooperation.